Hey everyone, thanks again for joining us today, and I think you're going to like this message. And once again, you know who this is, Rabbi Moshe Rothschild, coming to you from the Holy Land of Israel. I hope you feel the holiness. Let's go on to the message.
When Moshe is first introduced to God at the burning bush, God tells him to take off his shoes. And the question is why? What's the significance of taking off your shoes? And one of the famous Jewish commentators, Sfat Emet, gives a phenomenal response. He says, when you take off your shoes and you walk on hot ground in the desert, you can feel everything. And for that matter, wherever you are, if you take off your shoes, imagine you have little kids and they're playing with Legos and you walk through the room, you step on a piece of Lego, you feel that pain shoot up through your body. So the idea was that God was telling Moshe, if you want to be a leader, you want to bring the Jewish people out of Egypt, you want to be the one who's going to be in charge, you want to be at the top, you have to learn sensitivity. That's the only way to be a leader, is to be sensitive to the people around you. Often leadership can be people who are powerful or are wealthy. If they can't relate to the average or the common man and be sensitive to their needs and to their situation, then they're not really fit for leadership. There's a story told about a great sage. His name was Rabbi Avraham Pam. Many people used to send him books. And in order for him to write like a little intro, of course, if you got him to write a little intro, a little approbation of how wonderful the book is, then the book would do better, people would accept it. So they would send him his book to write a little letter. In Hebrew, it's called the Haskama. And of course, he didn't have nearly enough time to read all the books or even to respond to everyone, but he kept all the books in his house, and he had hundreds of books, and at some point they had really gathered and collected, and he needed to do something with them. So he called his grandson, and he asked him to come over and said, can you do me a favor, come and help me, we'll box all the books and I can put them into the basement. So his grandson came over thinking that it would just take, a half hour of work, maybe an hour, but in reality the job took an entire day. Why? Because as they picked up each book, Rav Pam looked at the Sefer, at the book, and he said, you know what? The person who sent me this book, he put his heart into writing it, and he really wanted me to read it, but I just didn't have time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show respect for this person, and I'm going to look at this book, and I'm going to read one page. And he says to his grandson, let's do this with every book. Let's read one page of every single book before we pack them away. After all, we have to respect, that the author put all this time into it. So he and his grandson sat and they learned one page of every single book. And by sheer volume of the books there, it took them an entire day to do this till they packed up all the books. Rav Pam was extremely sensitive to the author of these books. They put so much effort into it. You could at least take the time to be sensitive to them and to spend a few minutes reading one page. I'll share with you another story. The story is about a great sage from the last generation, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, and he was sitting once on a holiday called Purim at his festive meal. Now, of course, all year round, people would come to him for advice, for blessings, but you don't come during a meal on a festival, on a holiday. But this woman came with her daughter, showed up at his door on the holiday of Purim in the middle of this festival meal. Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach got up from his seat, and not only did he not tell them to leave, that it was not the right time, they should come back later. He got up from his seat, went outside, spoke to them for a few minutes, and then came back. The story emerged. What exactly happened was this woman had the woman's daughter, had been engaged, and she had a broken engagement. And of course, this is very difficult. She was not a young woman. She wasn't 20, 21. She was a bit older, and she had a broken engagement. She was very concerned. Maybe she would never find the right person again. So she came to see the rabbi for advice and for a blessing. And the rabbi said that I knew that if she came in front of everybody here and I started to speak to her and to bless her, she would be so upset she would start crying. And I didn't want her to be embarrassed in front of everybody, so I went outside, just so that she wouldn't have to break down crying in front of everybody. This is sensitivity. This means we think about the other person and what they might need. One final example, sometimes people come to your house and they want, for whatever reason, they might just be stopping by and you say to them, hey, can I get you a drink? And they say, no, thanks. 99% of the time they say no, thank you. And it's not because they're not thirsty. It's usually because they just don't want to put you out or whatever it is. So the way really to offer someone a drink is to go take a drink yourself and then say, would you drink with me? That way you're sensitive to their feelings. This is a very, very important idea to develop. It's a very important attribute to develop within ourselves, to think from the other person's perspectives as if you're them. What would you want? How would you want to be treated? And then to treat the person that way. So let's take this month of Elul to focus and again to realign our values and develop our sensitivity.
Okay, thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Going out with the music of Rabbi Shlomo Katz. He is awesome. Clap your hands.